All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. This is another one of these quick hits I'm doing. It's basically a short interview about a band or an artist who's doing something maybe not as wide-ranging as a full-length release is coming soon or a tour. Not that anyone's touring, but it's just kind of a way to talk about some smaller releases like a single or something that's happening kind of imminently or has already happened. So the artist on the show today, you've been on the podcast before. We did like a full-length episode on your band, and you have a new single that just came out, and let's talk about that. So I think the best way to kick this off, if you want to introduce yourself, and we can get right into it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Chris. I play in a band called Epirus. We're sort of like an easy core, hardcore outfit here, four-piece, local to Winnipeg. Yeah, we were on the show before. We did that like recording in our closet.
That's right. Yeah.
That was a good time. Since then, we released a 4-song EP, and we just recorded a 2-song EP, and we released track 1 titled Anxiety yesterday, so March 15th.
Cool. And I was listening to it today, and it's really heavy. It seems, if I'm not mistaken, heavier than your other stuff. Like when I had you on the show before, you guys still had some heavy sounds for sure, but this seems and maybe it's because of the whole anxiety theme. It seems very heavy and kind of urgent. It seems like there's like almost panicky in sound wise. Is that deliberate?
Yeah, that's exactly what we were going for. When we recorded all of like the vocals in particular, we would, like, me and my drummer would get together, and when we were just having conversations, he would click record and we would be like in the other room, and it would pick up like subtleties of us like arguing and like doing things together. And so we like layered that in the background, and I really wanted to be like a delivery of like that feeling of anxiety, and it came out super chaotic and crazy, and it's exactly what we were going for. I think it came out pretty sweet.
Cool. How does this differ sonically from your previous stuff? Because people have maybe heard your last EP and they have an idea of what your sound is. And I mean, like I said before, this seems heavier to me. I don't know if it's just because I haven't listened to you guys in a while since the last thing came out, but is there an obvious difference to you, as a member of the band in terms of what the sound is?
Yeah, for sure. We've always kind of struggled with finding like a band that suits everybody's style altogether, because we all come from different musical backgrounds.
Yeah.
Me coming in like from more of like a punk side of things, I listen to a lot of like pop punk and like easy core stuff like that. And everybody's range is so different. Our drummer mainly, or not a drummer, a bassist mainly listens to like rap music. So we're trying to like fuse all of these ideas together. And this was the first time where like I had a vision of exactly the sound I was going for, and it was like portrayed super well, I think.
What is that sound? What is the sound you were going for? Like, how would you define it?
Oh, I just wanted to like, I went through like a whole breakup phase, and I was just like angry all the time and like super mad. And that's when I started getting really into like the hardcore scene, and I got into Knocked Loose, and I was listening to like all their albums on repeat every day, and it's all that like chuggy caveman riffs and lots of like dissonance and yelling. And so I was like, I need to write a song that like it's how I feel. And so it was just like I made like there was like 4 tempo changes in the song where we just like play it slower, play it slower, play it slower.
Yeah.
And I tried not to like think too much about it. It was more of just like getting it out there and like in like the angriest way I possibly could. So it just like we tried to like epitomize hardcore in these 2 songs, and like Anxiety in particular.
Why a 2-song EP? I mean, I guess that could probably be considered a single, I guess, depending on how you want to define it. But why is such a short number of songs? What was the reason for that?
It's definitely because the way that we like write our songs, it's almost like every song almost has a different genre, which to some people is like, well, why don't you just pick something that works and do it?
Yeah, who are you?
Yeah, we just like really like the experimenting and be able to do what we want, how we want, because we're all artists. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And so these 2 songs were the only ones that really fit that hardcore like vibe that we were going for. So it just made sense to throw the 2 together. And I got the idea actually from Counterparts. They released, I think it was called Pure Form of Pain, and it was just a 2-song EP. They had like a limited merch run for it. I was like, and like everything like went so good for them.
Cool.
And I was like, well, it's not like we're copying them, but it's like they have a template that works for them. Let's see if it works for us. And yeah, even some local bands like Beneath the Darkness just put out a 2-song EP, and I was like, it works.
Yeah.
It's doing the job. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
why
I mean,
not?
I guess it replaces the kind of the traditional single where you'd have, one song side A, one song side B. Because everything's digital now, I mean, most people are just doing one song, but there's no reason, I guess, not to have a 2-song release. Because people listen differently, sure, but there was always a
Mhm.
benefit, I think, to having the single and then whatever the B side is, because often the B side would get more attention in some singles than the A side, and these kind of gives you an opportunity to show off two different aspects of your sound, right?
Yeah, for sure. And even when we wrote the songs, we wrote it where it's almost like a sample in the beginning of Anxiety, where it's like that piano
Mm-hmm.
intro with like the spoken word stuff. And then the way that we originally wrote it was it had like a lo-fi like drum sample right at the end of Anxiety, and it flowed into our next song.
Oh, cool.
And if you have to listen really carefully, but I think the song's like 3 minutes, 36 seconds or something. And in the last like 3 seconds, you can hear the start of the next song in it,
Oh, cool. That's
which
awesome. Yeah.
that's just a little sneak peek for you, I guess,
Yeah.
and whoever's listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, they do really flow into each other really well. So 2-song EP was for us was the way to go. It made the most sense.
Is the second song similar thematically to the one that's out now?
Yeah, very instrumentally, very similar. Um, but like the theme of the song, it still tunes into that really like angry, angsty side of things. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, one's called Anxiety, and the next one, I don't know when this is going to be released and if I should be talking about it, but the next one is called Parasite.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's it's basically about ex-girlfriends.
Which is a very
Yeah.
fertile topic. I mean, definitely
Yeah.
some of the best records I've ever heard have been people being pissed off about relationships that didn't work out. So I think there's like a way to
Yeah.
be to do sad music about that, and then to do like actually I think pretty much any emotion, right? I mean, I've heard records where
Yeah.
someone is angry about a failed relationship, and it generates like a lot of really emotional stuff. Other ones where it's really down and sad, and other ones where even like there's positive kind of vibes taken from that. So it's kind of like a timeless subject matter, unfortunately, right? Like humans,
Yeah.
shitty relationships happen to everybody. So yeah, people can sort of express that in a lot of different ways. Where
Yeah.
does someone find this single that's out now if they're looking for it?
It's live on Spotify, Apple Music. I just uploaded it to Bandcamp yesterday. Um, and then like Pandora, Deezer, TikTok, like we pretty much just like put it everywhere that we possibly could, just in case, somebody's like making a TikTok that's angry and they stumble across and like, oh, well, this
Okay, yeah,
fits
yeah,
or whatever. And yeah, why not? So yeah, basically everywhere you can find it now, which is pretty sweet.
cool. And then the previous record, is that still floating around online? I assume it is, right? The earlier EP.
Yeah, it is. Although we've kind of been in talks about deleting it
Oh, really? Okay.
off all our platforms. It was one of those like I guess like learning curves of being a musician, and we had like wrote the songs and started all our production when we had our last singer, and so everything like it was like in the key of what his voice suited,
Oh,
and
okay.
he had all his lyrics and everything, and then we had like let him go, and I had like stepped up to the role of doing all of it, and I had like a week to rewrite all of like 4 songs lyrics and like record all the tracks. So we just like weren't the happiest with it. But it was a learning curve, and they're out there, and they still get some streams now and then. But these next songs, like especially Anxiety, they were more of like I didn't have a time frame of like, okay, I have a week to write these lyrics. I could sit on them and like really think
Yeah.
everything through. And so these ones are a lot more like personal to us, and I think a lot more relatable to the public, and I guess the sound that we were trying to create.
Well, I guess it's a more accurate kind of portrayal of what you guys sound like now, too, right? Because I mean, it's written with the current lineup being involved.
Yeah, for sure. It was like, yeah, it was the first time where we wrote these songs, and we had actually done almost all of the mixing ourselves. And then we ended up going to a local guy, Matt Simpson, who had like finished our mix and mastered it and done everything. But it was the first time where we came together and we heard the finished songs, and we were like, wow, like this is what we were going for. And like this is Epirus for sure.
Awesome.